Most people wake up as slaves. They are jolted awake by an alarm, immediately attacked by digital notifications, and rushed into a day they didn't choose. But Marcus Aurelius, a man who ruled the known world, approached the dawn differently. He wrote that upon waking, we should be struck by the sheer, staggering privilege of being alive, the ability to breathe, to think, and to exercise our reason. But let's be honest, in a world designed to distract you, how do you actually build a morning that honors that gratitude? How do you move from a state of morning anxiety to a state of unshakable, stoic resolve? Today we aren't just looking at habits, we are deconstructing 8 transformative rituals designed to anchor your soul in such deep tranquility that no matter what chaos the day throws at you, you will remain unmoved. Each of these steps builds upon the last, forming a psychological fortress around your mind. If you miss even one, you leave a gate open for stress to enter. So stay with me until the final practice. It is the one that ties the entire philosophy together. Before we unlock the first ritual, take 1 second to hit that like button. It tells the algorithm that wisdom matters more than noise, helping us reach other seekers like you. And if you're ready to stop drifting and start leading your own life, subscribe and join our community. Your journey towards self-mastery is no longer a wish. It starts right now. 1. The cosmic perspective, reflecting on transience. One of the primary pillars of Stoic philosophy is the memento mori, the profound acknowledgement of the impermanent nature of all things. In the modern world, we spend our lives hiding from the reality of change and mortality. The Stoic, however, invites these truths into the room. Every morning, before the world begins its cacophony of emails, news and social noise, find a quiet corner. Sit in a posture that is relaxed yet upright, a physical manifestation of the balance you aim to achieve between internal calm and external alertness. Close your eyes. Begin the visualization of the view from above. Imagine your consciousness rising above your room, above your city, above the continent, until you are looking down at the earth from the cold, silent depths of space. See the planet as a tiny, pale blue dot suspended in an infinite vacuum. In this cosmic theater, visualize the rise and fall of civilizations. See the mountains that have stood for millions of years and the rivers that have carved through solid rock over eons. Now bring your focus to the timeline of humanity. Think of the billions who have lived, loved, struggled, and died, their names now lost to the winds of time. Finally, bring your focus to your own life. In the grand scheme of the universe, your life is a mere blink, a spark that flashes for a second before returning to the darkness. This visualization is not intended to diminish your significance or plunge you into nihilism. Quite the opposite. It is designed to strip away the triviality of your petty anxieties. When you realize how fleeting your time is, you no longer have the luxury of wasting it on anger, vanity, or meaningless distractions. You realize that this day is a rare gift, a singular opportunity to act with virtue. Waking up with this mindset prepares you to navigate the day with a deeper sense of gravity. As Seneca wisely noted, life is long if you know how to use it. By grounding your morning in transience, you ensure that you do not spend your life waiting to live, but rather living each moment with the intensity of a dying man who has been granted a reprieve. 2. The internal dialogue, weaponized journaling. The act of journaling, as practiced by the Stoic masters, is not a diary of events. It is a surgical tool for the soul. It is an act of introspection, of grounding, and of mental hygiene. It is where you confront your shadow and align your reason. Start by choosing a physical journal. There is something neurologically significant about the friction of pen on paper. It slows the mind and forces a deeper level of honesty. This is your inner citadel, a space devoid of judgment or performance. Begin each morning with a mental spill. Write down the raw, unfiltered thoughts cluttering your mind. Are you anxious about a meeting? Are you lingering on a resentment from yesterday? Spill it onto the page. This clears the courtyard of your mind, sweeping away the fallen leaves of subconscious noise. Once the spill is complete, transition into the practice of gratitude. Stoicism teaches us that we suffer more in imagination than in reality, and we often ignore the abundance already present in our lives. List 3 things you are genuinely grateful for, but do not be superficial. Do not just list health or family, be specific. Grateful for the warmth of the sun on your face. Grateful for the clarity of your own mind. Grateful for the ability to endure hardship. Then move into self-reflection. Choose a Stoic principle, perhaps a quote from Epictetus or Marcus Aurelius, and wrestle with it. Ask yourself, where did I act out of impulse rather than reason yesterday? How can I be more courageous today? Am I being a slave to the opinions of others? Finally, set a moral intent. Write down a single virtue you will embody today. Perhaps it is temperance, the ability to resist the urge to overindulge or overreact. Or perhaps it is justice, the commitment to treating everyone you encounter with fairness and dignity. This becomes your moral compass for the next 16 hours. Remember, Marcus Aurelius's Meditations was never intended for publication. It was his personal journal. It was the way he remained a philosopher while ruling the world. 3. The anchor of intention beyond external goals. There is a fundamental distinction in Stoicism between goals and intentions. A goal is future-oriented and outcome-based. It is often tied to things outside your control, a promotion, a specific sum of money, or the approval of a peer. An intention, however, is a present-moment anchor rooted entirely in your own character and choices. Daily Stoicism emphasizes the dichotomy of control. If you set a goal to win a competition, you may fail through no fault of your own. The judges may be biased, or your opponent may simply be better. If your happiness is tied to that goal, your peace is fragile. But if your intention is to compete with absolute integrity and to give your maximum effort, you have already succeeded the moment you begin, regardless of the trophy. As you conclude your journaling, reflect on the kind of person you intend to be today. Do not ask what you want to get. Ask who you want to be. Do you intend to be patient, viewing every delay as an opportunity to practice stillness? Do you intend to be compassionate, remembering that every difficult person you meet is also struggling with their own internal demons? Do you intend to be courageous, speaking the truth even when your voice shakes? Write these intentions as active declarations. Today I will be the master of my reactions. Today I will approach every obstacle as a chance to grow. Today I will find stillness in the midst of the storm. These are not items on a to-do list to be checked off. They are the definitions of your character. As Seneca put it, it does not matter what you bear, but how you bear it. Intentions. Ensure that even if the external world is chaotic and unpredictable, your internal world remains governed by reason. You are committing not to a specific outcome, but to a specific way of existing in the world. 4. Voluntary hardship, the vaccine for the soul. In our contemporary era, comfort is treated as the ultimate human right. We have climate-controlled rooms, instant entertainment, and food delivered at the touch of a button. However, the Stoics recognized that an unchallenged life leads to a fragile spirit. They believed that the constant pursuit of comfort makes us slaves to our circumstances. To break this dependency, the Stoics practiced voluntary hardship. This is the deliberate introduction of small discomforts to fortify the spirit and prepare the mind for the inevitable tragedies of life. Seneca once advised his friend Lucilius to set aside days where he would wear coarse clothing and eat only the cheapest, simplest food, asking himself, is this the condition I so feared? Introducing small discomforts in the morning acts as a vaccine for the soul. The most accessible version of this is the cold shower, turning the water to freezing. For the final 60 seconds of your shower is a metaphorical baptism. It jolts the nervous system, yes, but more importantly, it requires a conscious act of the will to step into the cold. It reminds you that you are the master of your body, not the other way around. It washes away the inertia of sleep and proves that you can endure discomfort and emerge stronger. Other forms of voluntary hardship might include skipping your first meal of the day to remind yourself that your hunger does not control you, walking or biking to work in the rain to embrace the elements, sitting in silence for 10 minutes without reaching for your phone. The purpose is twofold. First, it trains the muscle of the will. If you can choose to be uncomfortable for 5 minutes in the morning, you will have the strength to remain calm when a major crisis hits in the afternoon. Second, it provides perspective. By occasionally foregoing luxury, you learn that your happiness is not dependent on external things. You find a sense of freedom that the person addicted to comfort can never know. You realize that true contentment is found within the inner citadel, not in the softness of your bed. 5. The practice of radical presence, mindfulness. While mindfulness is often associated with Eastern traditions, the Stoic concept of prosech, or continuous attention, is strikingly similar. The Stoics believed that human suffering is almost always caused by the mind wandering into the dead past or the non-existent future. We regret things that cannot be changed, or we fear things that may never happen. In doing so, we abandon the only thing we actually possess, the present moment. Epictetus stated, "Men are disturbed not by things, but by the views which they take of them." To take a correct view, one must be fully present. Dedicate 10 minutes of your morning to the practice of radical presence. This is not about clearing the mind, it is about observing it. Find a quiet space, close your eyes, focus on your breath, the simple rhythmic expansion and contraction of your lungs. Your breath is the ultimate anchor. It only ever exists in the now. When your mind begins to drift toward the stresses of the day, the emails you need to send, the arguments you anticipate, gently observe the thought as if it were a cloud passing through a vast sky. Acknowledge it and then return to the breath. Expand your awareness to your physical sensations. Feel the weight of your body against the chair. Notice the temperature of the air on your skin. Recognize these things without judging them as good or bad. They simply are. This practice is a Stoic exercise in distinguishing between external events and internal responses. It builds a buffer between the world and your reaction. Instead of being a reactive puppet of your environment, you become a conscious observer. You develop the ability to remain centered even when the world around you is in a state of flux. This mental equanimity is the fortress of the mind that no external enemy can breach. 6. The renewal of the mind, revisiting the masters. The wisdom of the Stoic masters is not a collection of academic theories. It is a living, breathing guide for the conduct of life. However, wisdom is like a fire. It requires constant fuel to keep burning. Without daily reminders, we inevitably fall back into old patterns of reactive thinking and emotional turbulence. Every morning, make it a sacred ritual to read at least one passage from a Stoic text. This could be Marcus Aurelius's Meditations, Seneca's Letters from a Stoic, or the Enchiridion of Epictetus. Do not read these texts as you would a novel or a news article. Read them with reverence and an eye for application. You might choose to open a book to a random page, trusting that the universe will provide the specific lesson you need for the day ahead. Once you have selected a passage, sit with it. Let the words sink beneath the surface of your conscious mind. If the passage speaks of the insignificance of fame, reflect on why you are so eager for the approval of strangers. If it speaks of the inevitability of change, reflect on how you can meet today's disruptions with grace. Stoicism is above all a philosophy of action. The true test of your reading is not how well you can quote the masters, but how well you embody their virtues. If you read about the importance of kindness, your task for the day is to act with kindness toward someone who does not deserve it. If you read about the necessity of endurance, your task is to bear your burdens without complaining. As you read, you might choose to copy a single sentence into your journal or onto a note that you carry in your pocket. This motto becomes a psychological shield that you can draw upon throughout the day when your peace is threatened. By revisiting these teachings every morning, you are participating in a conversation that has spanned 2,000 years, aligning your mind with the greatest thinkers of antiquity. 7. Amor Fati, the love of fate, the final and perhaps most profound practice of the Stoic. Mourning is the cultivation of Amor Fati, the love of fate. This principle, famously championed by Friedrich Nietzsche, but deeply rooted in Stoicism, is the passionate embrace of every event that happens in your life, whether it is perceived as positive or negative. Amor Fati is not passive resignation. It is not the surrender of a victim. It is the acceptance of a warrior. It is the understanding that the universe is a complex web of cause and effect, and that every challenge, every setback, and every heartbreak is a necessary component of your journey. As the sun rises, acknowledge that you have no control over the events the day will bring. You may face traffic, you may lose money, you may be insulted, or you may receive bad news. Instead of dreading these possibilities, the Stoic says, "I love this. This is exactly what I need to grow. This is the fuel for my virtue." Marcus Aurelius used the metaphor of a fire. A blazing fire makes flame and brightness out of everything that is thrown into it. Your character should be that fire. When bad things happen, they are not obstacles to your life. They are your life. They are the raw materials with which you build your greatness. To practice Amor Fati in the morning, visualize the day ahead. Anticipate the things that might go wrong. Instead of feeling anxiety, feel a sense of eager anticipation. Say to yourself, "Whatever happens today, I will use it for good. I will not merely tolerate my fate, I will love it." This shift in perspective is the ultimate form of psychological liberation. It makes you invincible. When you love everything that happens, nothing can ever truly go wrong. You become an alchemist who can turn the lead of adversity into the gold of wisdom. You move through the world not as a victim of circumstances, but as a master of your own soul. 8. The evening review, the inventory of the soul. While the morning is for preparation, the transition into night is for accountability. The Stoics believed that the day doesn't truly end when the sun sets. It ends when you have sat in judgment of your own actions. Seneca famously described this as a courtroom of the mind, where you act as both the defendant and the judge. As you prepare for sleep, do not simply collapse into bed and surrender to unconsciousness. Instead, take 5 minutes to conduct a silent, rigorous review of the hours you just lived. This is the practice of anathesis, the evening scan. It is not an exercise in guilt or self-punishment, but a cold, logical assessment of your progress. Ask yourself 3 specific questions. What did I do well today? Identify the moments where you chose reason over impulse. Did you hold your tongue when insulted? Did you complete a difficult task with focus? What did I do wrong? Where did you allow the world to disturb your peace? Did you lose your temper? Did you waste time on trivialities? Be brutally honest. You cannot heal a wound you refuse to look at. What will I do differently tomorrow? This is the most vital step. You are not just dwelling on the past. You are coding a better version of yourself for the next dawn. By conducting this inventory every night, you prevent the mistakes of the past from leaking into your future. You clear the moral debt of the day so that you can sleep with a clear conscience. As the ancient Stoics noted, when the mind knows it will have to account for its actions at the end of the day, it becomes more disciplined during the day itself. You become a person who lives with prososh, constant vigilant awareness. This evening review closes the loop of your Stoic routine. You began the day by acknowledging your mortality. You spent the day practicing your intentions, and you end the day by verifying your virtue. This is how a life of purpose is built, not through grand gestures, but through the relentless, quiet refinement of the soul, one day at a time. The wisdom of Stoicism is not about the suppression of emotion. It is about the elevation of reason. It is not about living a life of joyless austerity. It is about finding a deeper, more resilient form of joy that is independent of external conditions. While these 8 practices offer a structured path, remember that Stoicism is fluid. It must adapt to your personal needs and the realities of your life. Some mornings you may have an hour. Some mornings you may have only 10 minutes. The duration is less important than the consistency. As you step out into the world today, remember the words of Marcus Aurelius. The best revenge is not to be like your enemy. Do not be the enemy of your own peace. Do not allow the noise of the world to drown out the voice of your reason. Which one of these practices will you commit to first? Is it the cold shower of voluntary hardship? Is it the cosmic perspective of transience? Comment below and share your commitment. I am thankful for your presence here today. By engaging with these truths, you are already distinguishing yourself from the masses who drift through life on the currents of impulse. Immerse yourself in these practices and let them transform your mornings, your days, and ultimately your very existence. Until next time, stand tall, remain sovereign, and let your virtue be your light.